All right, here we go.
3,
Red leather,
2,
yellow leather.
1. Welcome to What's Your Name Again. This is Caceres, your host, and once again have my cohort, my sidekick, Greg Toronto here.
Happy Thursday, people. Oh, can we say what day it is? Does it matter?
Sure.
It doesn't even matter.
Maybe they're going to listen to it on a Thursday. Who knows? But happy Thursday.
You just ruined it. I think.
What? It's Thursday?
Oh, my gosh.
Shit.
I thought it was live.
Yeah.
And over here we got, once again, Travis Aaron Wade, which is amazing because he's currently traveling all over the country promoting a film he produced, which we had him come in here talking about it, and we had Todd come in and talking about it, The Last Full Measure. How's that traveling been, and has it been a success so far, you think?
It has been a success, and we opened up in 600 theaters. They added 14, which is always a good sign. We made over $1 million, which is good per theater. And we got another weekend in the movies, so check it out. Hopefully by the time this airs, it's still in the theaters. Go see it. Go take a veteran. Go take a first responder. Take somebody you love. It'll help them. So.
And like as I've repeated many times before, it's one of the best films I've seen in a long time. It actually moved me to tears, and I don't know why. If you haven't seen it yet out there, you need to go see it. It's not a war film. It's an amazing film with heart and about camaraderie and brotherhood and family and everything. So,
yeah.
And with that, Travis once again brought to us an amazing guest. I'm just getting to know her, but so far, you know, the best thing that happened. All right, right when she walked in the door, she saw whiskey on the table, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great! You guys have whiskey. I'll have some." As she takes a sip, and that right there already. Hey, when you take your first step with some whiskey, cheers!
Cheers!
You know that you're gonna have a good time, and we appreciate you joining us. We have Jade Albany. I want you to pronounce your last name because I know I would butcher it, but I'm sure it's going to sound beautiful when you say it.
What's it? Jade Albany Pietrantonio.
Oh my God!
Oh God! You hear that? You see the way that just comes in?
I just got weird. The blend of accents. She went from Australian to Latin.
Well, you're going to know why in a second.
I'm basically the dog that you find right at the back of the pound, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I don't know where it comes from or what it is, but it seems nice. It's friendly. Take that one."
And then it barks and has an accent, and it's like Pietrantonio. Pietrantonio. Say that again.
Pietrantonio.
Oh my God! It's an Italian flair. So she was, for Greg, she was born in France, right?
Yeah, just happened to be like the hospital where we were was just over the border. So I'm not technically French, but the French people like to say yes, you are.
Did you come over the border illegally?
No, it just so happened that the hospital was right there. So, and the French hospitals, I'm sorry, Italy, are much better than the Italian ones.
Yeah.
So I was born there, but I grew up in Italy, up in the mountains.
So that's why she has that flair, because she grew up in Italy, but was born in France. But that roll of the tongue, one more time.
Pietrantonio.
It's amazing. It's
fantastic.
So obviously there's no rules of crossing the border to be born in another country like that?
Not for Europe, because like they call it like an EU passport, so it's like a European passport. You can pretty much travel around with just like your driver's license. You can go between the two, and it's just super easy up there. Oh,
I see. So Italy, and then when did you end up going to Australia?
I don't know. I'd have to check, but I think I was like about 4 maybe. So I spoke only Italian when I was a kid, and then my dad didn't speak a word of English, so I kind of just always kept the Italian, and then just sort of started to learn Australian. I wouldn't call it English, Australian, when I was about 4 or 5, I think. And then
you spoke Australian?
Yeah. Everyone's like, "How many languages do you speak?" I'm like, Italian, Australian, and sometimes English.
So how do they say milk in Australian?
Milk?
We're just going to go through all the words.
No, milk is one of those ones like pillow. Like, you either say pillow, people say pillow or milk.
Yeah,
milk.
One of my best mates, Jackson, he says milk, and I'm always like, just stop. But he's from Melbourne. I won't hold it against him.
Oh, that's a different type of level?
It's a bit of a rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne, but it's more just Australians just don't say anything. So like an English person would be like, "How are you?" And then an Australian just goes, "Yeah, how you going?"
So
which makes no sense.
It's like a grunt.
There you go.
So Australians just sit there and look pretty and look brooding.
Pretty and broody.
Yeah.
Like Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need to talk.
They just sit there. It's great.
So your dad
So I
didn't
gotta go
speak
there.
English.
No.
He was an artist though.
Yeah, Dad's an artist. He was 21 when he had me and was working in a bar. And my mom was a model. She was in Milan modeling, and she was up in the mountains and met my dad. And she was just like this wild Australian hippie. And he was like, his name's Fabio. Everyone laugh.
Wow.
But he had the long black
Okay,
hair.
if you say so.
Her family is stunning. Like they are all beautiful. Like every one of them. Brothers.
Well,
right?
that
Yeah,
makes-
too.
Brothers are insane.
they're
Well, that
insane,
makes
like,
sense. I
male
mean,
models.
we see it. You know, you obviously got those genes from somewhere.
Oh, I'm the dud of the
Yeah.
family. You should see the other.
Great.
When we first met, I saw a photo of her on Instagram, and she'd just taken a trip back to Europe to see her family. There's a picture of her dad, and her brothers like on a boat. You know, all like in their swimwear. I thought it was like an ad for Neutrogena. I literally thought she booked like a commercial in Europe.
All these hot people.
I
She's
was like,
oh, it's
"Who's
just my
this?
family.
This is your commercial family? Like, and she's like, no, that's my real family. And I'm like, good God, woman. Like,
Yeah.
My brothers are
Lord.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're like 2 meters tall with big blue eyes. And
Do they
just,
model?
like,
Did they model too, or no?
Yeah.
So it was this modeling is just kept going.
it kept going. I mean, one of them is just like extremely just. His features are just so specific. So he models a lot. The other one's actually really, really intelligent. I mean, they both are, but he's really, really intelligent.
Yeah.
So he went down the finance.
So that one's not intelligent. The hot one.
No, he is too.
You
But
can't
he's
have both,
more,
man.
He's
You
more
can't
like
have
me.
both.
He's more like artistic and
I'm
design.
gonna send him
and-
the link to this podcast and you can hear you.
You got to
talk
look
smack
like
about
us to have a little
Sorry, Leone.
intelligence.
it. What's their names?
So there's Leone, which lion. There's
Yeah.
Filippo, who's the finance guy, and then there's Bodhi, who's
Yeah.
my Australian brother.
Okay. Greg's Italian, but he's Italian American.
Allora parliamo italiano per il resto
No.
del
So I saw somewhere your mom has Aborigine in her. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
Now what's she look like? Is she darker too or no?
Yeah, she's got black hair. She's got kind of darker eyes as well. Her skin's not very dark, but yeah, her great grandmother was full-blood Aboriginal. So
Oh
we've
my
got-
gosh,
yeah.
that's freaking awesome.
I don't look like it at all. I got, like, DNA is really bizarre. I always thought you got 50-50, but that's not apparently the case. You just
Yeah.
get whatever you're given.
Exactly.
And I got, like, 85% of my father.
So
Yeah.
did you do the test because you weren't sure if your dad was your dad? Like, is that?
Come on, Mom. No, my dad and I are, like, the same person. It's disturbing sometimes. But no, I just did it because I was just really curious. And I was curious to see how much of my, like, Aboriginal roots had actually come down, like, genetically. Because they can't like, put a name on it. They don't have enough DNA. So it just comes up as like 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever it is, of like not able to decipher. And I have 1%. So, but Aboriginal culture isn't about like the actual DNA. It's about the like teachings and the elders and whether you acknowledge it or not.
But those are like considered like some of the first people on this planet. Like it goes back to the lineage. Is
Yeah.
like that's like amazing that you could even say. Because I'm an 8th Mayan Indian.
Wow.
So like to me, it's so cool to be connected to like an old native culture, just like
Yeah.
you are. Like to go back that far.
I was really lucky with my mum because she really identifies as Aboriginal and she was the Aboriginal liaison officer for New South Wales. So she's always been involved in the community. And growing up, I grew up on like kind of like a hippie commune, but we also would go out to the Aboriginal commune and I had like an elder growing up. I was taught the Dreamtime stories. We would like the Dreamtime stories? The Dreamtime stories.
Uh-oh.
Whiskey.
What's your name again?
What's my name? But yeah, so there was like a camp and you'd tell the stories and I was really like, the culture was shown to me from a very young age. And so not all my family identifies. That's up to you whether you want to or not. But a lot of my family really does. So I got to learn a lot about it and it's fascinating.
Now you still really into like the like native aspect of life? Like, do you kind of follow that as far as the way you live?
Climbing
every day?
trees, cracking coconuts.
She ran here. She like
I ran here.
She showed up with bare feet.
It's been actually, that's probably been the most difficult thing for me. I mean, I sort of rebelled against it a little bit when I was younger. I'd be like, I'm not camping anymore, blah, 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 like when I was maybe in my teen years, and then I fell back into it. And whenever I need a breather, like I've got all my own camping gear. I go camping all the time, and it's just like to reconnect. And this is going to sound bizarre, but this morning I woke up and I just needed to go to a tree. So like I went to a tree and just like put my hand on
That's
it and
not
like
bizarre.
reconnected
It's
myself
not bizarre
to the earth for a second.
because I'm the same way. Like you got to connect with nature, especially in a city like LA where there's so little of it. We as beings have to connect to nature.
Yeah.
So in a city like LA, you got to find, even if it's a tree and you got to go hug it.
Yeah.
You're getting that energy.
That's a lot
So it's very
healthier than
important.
like going towards a bag of cocaine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's very LA.
Wow, we went from coconuts to cocaine.
I'm just saying. A lot of people need to hug things, and I take the tree.
Yeah,
you know,
rather-
it's a much
rather-
A lot of people probably thought I was still pinging out on mushrooms this morning when I'm standing there like with my hand on the tree, just like reconnecting to the earth. Everyone's like, "Fuck, she's on something weird. Can I have
Yeah,
some?"
she's
Yeah,
on
exactly.
cocaine.
still coming off last night or the week. But you live in Venice,
Seriously,
so
when you get the tree with your eyes closed. Like,
I'm sure there's much more stranger
I'm
things
really-
in Venice.
I'm bizarre, but I don't know, maybe it is my like Aboriginal roots or something, but it's just something that I need to do for my own sanity. And if I've had like a really weird week, I mean, my time in LA was, the first 3 years was absolute hell. So to survive, I would just have to like, go away.
Since you brought that up, let's hear it. How long you been here in LA?
4 years.
Well,
4 years.
so you just, your first year this last year has been amazing.
It's her senior year of high
Incredible.
school.
Yeah.
Senior year of high school.
Yeah,
It's
perfect.
funny. Like, I first got here and everyone was like, fuck, I really don't like LA. Like, I was finding it so hard to connect to nature, to connect to people. I was just, like, constantly baffled by how people act out here. And, you know, I was just struggling so much. And people would be like, oh, don't worry. It takes, like, 3 years to like LA. I'm like, son of a bitch, it's my first year. Are you kidding me? I'm going to be miserable for 3 years? They're like, yeah. It's going to suck. And then, like, in your fourth year, things will start to happen. So I'm like, great. So I'm going to be broke, depressed, and, like, hating life for, like, 3 years. They're like, yeah, just stick it.
In your 20th year, you learn to hate it again, so it comes full circle.
Comes
you know?
full circle. Thanks, Trav.
So if I was a new kid to town right now, and I said, how many years is it going to take me to kind of acclimate to LA? What would you tell me?
Unfortunately, I tell them the truth. But, like, now, from this perspective, saying it to someone, I kind of get where they were coming from, because it's not like a this is gonna suck sort of. You're not trying to impart that kind of wisdom. You're just trying to like tell them to just like try and
You're
stick
being
it out
realistic,
and breathe and
because
just
it's
like
true.
and just
Embrace
not
the
expect
chaos.
that like everything's just gonna fall.
It just doesn't
happy.
happen
Like,
overnight, yes.
No, that doesn't happen. And I'm kind of. It was weird when I first, like last year when things started to change, the second you book a couple of things, literally I was like, whoa, it all disappeared.
no shit. Yeah, working is nice.
Yeah.
But like
all of a sudden,
every
someone's picking you
single
up at the
thing.
airport with a sign. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, what does this mean?
Oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, I'm on set. I have my trailer.
Taylor, there's a car.
They're calling me Miss. What's your last name?
Albany Pietrantonio.
Yes.
So how
We're
does the
butchering
PA come ask you to come to set? How do they pronounce your name, Miss?
They just say
Jade.
I actually have never really liked my name, so I just get everyone to call me Albie.
Oh my god, it's the best name ever. Just
Jade?
what they
It's
say.
the stripper and everything.
Well, no, the last name too.
It's actually a really precious stone, to be honest. It's
But it also is a stripper name, though.
It's
the
also
strippers
different.
have taken
Name
the precious
one
stones.
movie that has
Diamond,
a Jade in it
crystal,
that isn't
yeah.
a hooker of some kind.
She's kind of right.
She's kind of
I-
true.
Yeah, kind of right.
There's a movie called Jade with David Caruso, right? I believe.
And is he a stripper in there?
He would have been a great stripper. To be
He
honest
was.
with
He
you.
was a ginger too.
Yeah, the glasses.
Yeah.
What do you mean was? Is he gone?
I mean,
I didn't
is
realize
sorry.
how ginger I'd
Jesus,
become.
we're all sensitive right now.
Like, yeah.
Oh, all of a sudden, is he gone? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up about 3 years, because I always tell people new to town, I actually make it a little easier. I say, your first year, don't worry about acting, don't worry about anything, get used to the city, find your niche here, find your network of people you're going to hang out with, dig your roots here, because, yeah, you said 3 years, that's very true. It takes a while to get used to it. You're right on track. Fourth year, stuff starts to happen, and now it's not going to stop. As long as you make the right decisions and, you stay...
That's what Travis is.
Keep hugging trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't hug cocaine.
Hug a
Don't
tree.
cocaine. But yeah, it's just...
Everyone's right now, those freaking hippies,
Whiskey
man.
Thursday,
Tree huggers.
Thursday mornings, you know.
I was very lucky to find Training Mate where I met Travis, because it was a little piece of home in just complete chaos. And I would like wake up, burst into tears, pull my shit together, walk to Training Mate, do Training Mate, only cry if I met Travis. Because because
Yeah,
he's
it's
sweet,
true.
not because he makes me cry. But yeah, and then I'd walk home, cry all the way home, maybe get to an audition, do something, go to sleep, cry some more. It was just hell. I just hated it.
Okay,
It
so
was
wait,
She
wait,
had
hell.
a good- Oh, sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Real quick. What brought you out here?
Acting. I just wanted.
Who brought you out here?
I did.
So why are you saying that?
What?
It makes it sound like you were forced to be here. You chose to be here.
I definitely I definitely forced myself to be here, but it was just like it. I don't know. Like after the first year, it was just
Lonely.
lonely.
It's
It was
very
just
lonely.
Yes,
really lonely.
yes.
I couldn't connect with people apart from Training Mate, which was like this little safe haven, which
Training
is probably
mate, 'cause
mate,
he's
like the
Australian.
Aussie.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why.
It's great.
Training
Like-
mate.
Great.
Yeah.
Training mate.
And
They'll actually
we
come
met when I was training for Last Full Measure. So as
Oh,
I was
wow,
preparing
okay.
for that movie, because I was 40 at the time, and it was hard to get in that kind of shape, right, for a military boot camp film. Like
Yeah.
I was ready for that when I was 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Always sitting on the bike.
Yeah,
out the
so
front.
she personally got me ready for
You
that.
always had him doing cardio
Yeah.
constantly?
So twice a day, 92 days in a row.
Wow.
And she probably did about half of those with me. And so she got me physically ready for that movie. And in the same time, like, we started working together with her career. And that's why I was telling you about her, is she just seems to resonate with where your viewers are probably at, closer than
Yeah.
where we are. And I just saw it. Like, you just see it. Like, you just see someone who is determined, who's doing what it takes, sleeping on the couches, not selling herself out, not selling herself short. I mean, there's a lot of ways for her to have gotten in the business and gotten jobs, but she stuck true to herself. And we would share those stories and we would talk. And I just really had like this, I had this really intense admiration for someone who looked like her, was her, and who was doing the work rather than, hey, I'm just pretty, who can I hook up with to get a job?
Yeah.
And that was really admirable of her, and I applauded her for it, and so we started working together, and she's killing it. So I'm so
Wow,
proud
I
of her.
think we're gonna cry again.
Yeah, man.
Travis
Seriously,
makes us
man.
want to cry
Yeah.
all the time. He's always so.
If you haven't
crazy.
yet, Travis, by the way, you need to narrate something.
Yeah.
Have you done that yet?
I was just listening to your voice.
audiobook, you know,
It's so,
something.
like,
Just-
deep.
He's got a great voice.
it's the tone
For those
connected
voiceover.
with the tone.
That's his being
Agents out
cool
there.
voice. Hey.
For
But it's-
Valentine's Day, love song dedications.
Later,
by,
but it is
Paparazzi.
we have like a genuine friendship. Like we have a really
Yeah.
pure, genuine friendship, and we've had it for quite some time. And I really
And
think she has a lot to offer.
that's why he recommended you to come in here, because the show's What's Your Name Again? It was kind of founded off the idea of being relevant, or you were once relevant, or you were a has-been, or reinventing yourself and coming back. But you're a different case, because you're somebody who is not really even a What's Your Name Again. You're about to be a name.
What's your name?
Like, you're What's Your Name, like, because you're about to blow up. So you one of your biggest things you did was the American Playboy, the Hugh Hefner story. Was that like one of your
Yeah.
first kind of big...
That was, one of my first, that kind of, I mean, I had come here already and was trying to get my O1, and then the visa was approved, and as soon as I got a approved visa, I got flown back to New Zealand to shoot a show,
shoot
which
that.
you don't need a visa for. But it was fantastic. So that was like my first, I'd done an American TV series back in Australia, but it got, with Rachel Griffiths, but it got cancelled pretty much after one season. And then American Playboy was kind of like my door opening to LA, and I was under the impression that that was going to lead to more, and it just led to kind of nothing.
Yeah.
Which is just, I didn't realize how the kind of ladder worked yet, but it was a great experience, and the most amazing thing about that is a bunch of those actors, I lived with one of them, the other one just moved back to New Zealand, but I lived with her as well, and my best friend Emmett is back in New Zealand, so they were like my core group, and we all came to LA.
Yeah.
Because of that. So, and they've gone off and done other things now, but
that's the actor's
Yeah.
journey. Is like you had that taste, like you said, you did that, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is what I want to do.
this is what I want to do.
But then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, nothing happens, and you start to wonder, okay, what do I do next? I want more of that.
Didn't you
Yeah.
have a big modeling gig before that? Didn't you do a modeling shoot? Was it
yeah, I
Guess
was
or?
the cover of Maxim
She
back
was
in
on the boat. She
Australia.
was on the boat with her family.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cover of
Maxim.
Maxim.
Yeah, she was on the
Oh,
cover of
yeah.
Maxim.
Australia.
Yeah.
That's gangster.
Well, you modeled overseas, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd been doing theater since I was like 11, but when I moved to Italy, I just got scouted. I know that sounds really generic, but I got scouted and I just started modeling, and I always wanted to be an actress, but like the modeling doors were just all opening left, right, and center, even though I was kind of short. And so I did that for a little while, but then they got to a point where I was like, wow, I've just gotten so far away from what I actually wanted to do and who I wanted to be. And so I moved back to Australia, and then I went back to it was called the Byron Bay Film and Television School. And so I kind of got back into acting, but I just wasn't quite sure how it worked or what to do. It all seemed a little extreme. So then I started training to join the reserves and go to the military, just because I'd always had this like want to serve. And the day that I was meant to go, so they put you on like a bus, and then you go out into the middle of nowhere and you do like a camp for like a week where they just try and break you pretty much. So I had been training for the physical aspect of that, and I'd always liked training, and you know, it was always a way of helping with depression and everything like that. So it was an easy thing for me to dive into. And then the day that I was meant to go, I think it was like that following Thursday or something, the week prior, the audition came in for camp with Rachel, and I booked it. So the life took me this way instead of that way. And yeah, that was the way that went. So, and then after that, I just started getting enough to build a package to do the O1 visa, and my manager, David Ruddy, saw something in me. I flew over, met him, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then you did something recently called The Right Stuff. Was that like last year, or what was the series?
So
what was that all about? That was based off like something from the past, right?
The movie.
Yeah, based off the movie, right?
It's a TV series.
And what did you do? You played Renee Carpenter. What was your character all about on that?
Yeah, Renee Carpenter is so the Right Stuff is about the Mercury 7. They're the first astronauts in space, the first men in space. And the book, there was a movie called The Wives Club or something, which focused more on the wives, but this was the original story of the men. And so I play one of the main Seven's wives, and it's great because I get to have the big like blonde bombshell beehive thing happening again. And the person that played my role in the Wives movie was also Australian, so it's like that character just has to be an Australian woman through history. But that was amazing because I flew back. It was weird. I've always had like a weird intuition when it comes to acting. I've always stayed like 2 months in Italy, and for some reason it was like the middle of June, and I was like, I'm sorry, Dad, but I've got to go home. And he was like, what? You stay like through July, you stay till your birthday, August? And I was like, nah, I gotta go. And he's like, why? No reason, just had to go. I flew back. I landed at like 11 p.m. I had an email in my inbox saying you've got an audition for The Right Stuff tomorrow morning. And then I called Ruddy and was like, hey, I just landed. The flight was late, blah, 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 blah. Saw the audition. I'll just got to get home and I'll get to it. And he was like, look, this casting director can be really difficult. Don't go if you're not going to be prepared. Like, if you're not going to be ready, I'd rather you don't blow.
Who was the cast director on that?
No comment. But they were just like, don't.
Well, we're here to help actors too, so maybe they need to know.
Well, maybe not difficult, just you know.
Just
really
like someone.
Well, without the name, how about this? Advise them.
They can do the right stuff.
Exactly, they can look it up.
It's not. I don't think it's about them being difficult or not. It's just more about like if you don't know someone, you get a first impression once.
Yes.
Whether they're a casting director or a human.
Yeah. In general, no matter who the casting director is.
Yeah.
When you haven't met them, what's your advice to actors? You need to freaking kill it on that first one, because that might be the only time you get to see them again.
And that's the thing. It's like him telling me if you're not going to be ready wasn't like, oh, you're not ready because you're slacking off. It's my audition was at like 9 a.m. the next morning, and I just landed from a 14-hour flight, and it was midnight, and I had 3 scenes to learn. So my advice would be either stay up all night and do the work, which is what I did. I just said, no, I've got this. And like the next morning at 7 a.m. I said, I'm going, I've got this. And I just didn't go to sleep. I think I slept for maybe an hour, because it's just, you're here to work. You're not here to fuck spiders, as they say.
And the thing is there's so much competition now. Fuck spiders. That's a new one.
It's an Australian thing. But if you're willing to do the work, but if you're not, or if you're just like, I just want to go to sleep, okay, fine. But then don't go just because you're like, oh, it's an audition, I have to go. No, just savor that relationship.
Thank you. That's great advice, because you could lose a fan for a very long time if you go in and bomb it. The only way you should go in kind of half-ass prepared is if the casting director really knows you well enough.
Yeah, and they know your work.
But these days, there's so much competition. If you get to see somebody, you have one chance, and if you're not that good, they're gonna It's gonna be a while till they see you
and
again.
it's not a put down on myself, but I am literally no one in a face of thousands.
Yes.
So go prepared.
Agreed.
They say you don't have to be off book, but be off book. Have your page in your hand, but show them that you've done the work. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're gonna fumble. You're gonna, whatever. And also come as the character, because you're no one. Literally
Sage
no
advice.
one. They want you to walk in, and so I got a 50s dress from a friend early that morning. I wore 50s jewelry, pulled my hair back, looked at the character, who she was, tried to make myself look like her as much as humanly possible without having like a blonde beehive. And I did get lucky because I'd played Janet Pilgrim in American Playboy, where she had the blonde beehive. So they had plenty of photos of what I would look like with like insane Marilyn Monroe hair. So I did get lucky because it was a little bit of a copy paste in that sense. And she had some similarities to Janet in the way that she was the wife that was like very seen. And Janet worked with 10 boys in an office. And I've always had brothers, so I relate well to men. And like, so there was a lot of like stuff that had to come into line.
Yeah,
but the
this,
other thing
this
is I did the
business
work.
is half luck. I mean, it's luck in so many ways.
1000%.
And we had that conversation the other day when we spoke. Picking up where she's at was, don't walk in making excuses. Like, don't walk in and tell them your European story and how you had to leave Italy and you're sorry you couldn't prepare. Like, you can't walk in and tell them your excuses. Most actors make that mistake. And so we were talking about that, and because we were talking about, do you talk in the room or don't you? And I've just learned over the years, especially now being behind the camera, like no one really wants to chat unless they're talking to you.
Yeah.
If they're talking to you, engage, but don't go in there and start yapping.
Exactly.
They want to go home. It's like, walk in, be the character, do the work, and so like I think she just nailed it. She like came in right off the plane, didn't sit there and go, I'm sorry, I was on a plane.
They never want to hear an excuse, ever.
And they know everything. They've been talking to your manager. Because obviously my manager has had to say to them, look, my client is on a plane right now. I think she'll come in tomorrow, but I'm going to have to confirm tomorrow because she's currently on a plane. So if you walk in and go, oh, I just got the script last night and I got in and the plane was late and I was delayed and I haven't slept. Their eyes are glazing over. That's a terrible first date.
Horrible.
You sit down on a first date and a girl's like, let me tell you all my issues.
Exactly.
No.
That's a great analogy. If you go on a first date with somebody, you're like, sorry, oh my gosh, I wasn't feeling good today, or my hair's not right.
I got gas.
Yeah, exactly. I'm bloated.
I think the other side of that story coin for me is that the final audition possibility? Because I feel like if I do get something like that night before, and I have the opportunity to ask, can it be changed or is there another session, I'll take that opportunity so I can prepare longer. So,
that is often a possibility, but this role, literally, they were. I went home that night. When was it? I literally was on a plane that morning. So that night, I found out I was on hold for the role, and then at about 9 or 10 p.m., I got a call from Roddy saying you've booked it, and my driver was picking me up at 7 a.m. So then I literally had just landed from Italy, repacked my suitcase, flew back across the country to Florida, and started shooting. So that was why he was like, there's no way of moving with this. You either do it and you nail it, or you just don't.
Well, that's very common, is they'll say, we're moving fast. We're moving fast. You got to get in here. But actually, that works to your advantage a lot of times because they have a deadline. They got to find. That's happened to me. I've gotten pilots because of last minute. They're like, oh my gosh, we can't find what we're looking for. This is our last session. Blah, blah.
Fuck it, we'll take him.
We'll take it.
Exactly.
Desperate and want to do it.
We couldn't get that beautiful blonde
Is
we
that
wanted.
the hashtag of your dating life?
Yeah, exactly. On my dating life too. Well, that's a whole nother story. Oh, do we want to talk about your dating life? Because I don't know if we're gonna go there. Well, look, she's getting hot. She's taking off her jacket.
I've got a question for you because I think this is something that at least I haven't heard yet. Is funny enough, we actually shared the same manager at one point, Dave Ruddy.
Oh, nice.
And Dave and I worked together 15 years ago when Dave was just starting and I was getting out there. How did you find Dave? How did you find your manager? How did you find representation in a much different time than when we all found our reps? Like we always talk about how we found our reps, but it was like in the Stone Ages. So how did you find your rep?
You're with Buckwald, right? Are you with Buckwald or no?
No.
You used to be, no?
I was.
Edit that out.
I used to be. I used to be with them too.
By the way, me too.
Really?
Really?
Was Michael Green still there?
Was that a Me Too or just like a?
It was
yes,
me
as
too. It was a double
too?
Me Too.
Oh, double Me
Yeah,
Too. Okay.
I was with Buckwald too.
Was Michael Green still there when you were there? Michael Green, agent?
Possibly, but he wasn't my agent.
Oh, okay.
That's so. To start off, it was I was with an agency in Australia that had a good relationship with Ruddy. So it was like he would scout through Australia because, the actresses and actors that have come before me have really laid out this nice little yellow brick road for Australians to LA, and they've done an incredible job and they've left an amazing reputation. So it's very common for agencies and managers to scout through Australia for the next Margot, Nicole, Hemsworths, whatever. So they're always scouting. So Ruddy was doing one of his scouts, and my agent at the time over there put me forward and was like, she's really interested in LA. What do you think? So he started to send me some tapes, not stuff that I would actually book, but just to see how I would tape and how my accent was and things like that. And after a couple of months, he said, look, I'm interested. We did a FaceTime, and I said, look, can I just come over and meet you? And he was like, you're going to fly all the way to LA just to meet me? All right. So I flew over and met him and had 2 weeks here, and then while I was here, he got me an agent. So I was with Don Buchwald when I first came over and got the visa and everything. Buchwald didn't have anything to do with American Playboy. That was all Ruddy, but yeah, and then Buchwald dropped me after my first pilot season. Yeah.
Why?
So, well,
She didn't book.
I didn't book.
Wow, that quick though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
signed with them
Buchwald
for
there.
6
They did
months.
the same thing. That's their MO.
They dropped you?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a different story real quick with Michael Green. That's why I brought it up. And we still tell this story. I was on a series back in the day, and at one point he kind of messed up my deal for the next season of it. And literally in the middle of the lobby with all the assistants down both lanes, him and I get in this big fight in the middle. Fuck you, blah, blah. You messed up my deal. Well, you did this. And we're screaming at each other like it's straight out of freaking Entourage.
Yeah.
Like literally, fuck you, well, fuck you. And he slams the door to his office. I'm like, fuck you. And I left. And then I left Buchwald after that. But him and I to this day, we're still friends. And he still sometimes says, hey, you should, well, he did. It's been about a year or two. You should come back. But it's a great story. I didn't know if you knew who Michael was, because he's very. Do you remember Michael Green?
Yeah, Michael Green. I was with Renee Jeanette, and then she got sick. And so
that
then
was
I got
back in the day. I used to be with. That was my point person, Renee, New York.
Yeah, Renee, and then she got sick.
All right, boys, let's bring it back to our guest.
Jade.
Yeah.
Well, but I have to tell my story, Dan,
Yeah.
because I've always waited to tell.
No, it's all about different stories for people to hear.
So I was testing for septuplets, and this was my first pilot I was ever testing for. And I mean, it was ABC. It was going to go. And it was the first time I'd ever tested for anything. Now, I didn't have much of a resume. I had one movie. And Renee got ill, and I got picked up by Julia Buchwald.
Yeah, Julia.
And, I mean, Julia, it's her last name's Buchwald. And I knew, the only thing I really knew about Buchwald is that they represent Howard Stern.
Yes,
and they've been
in New
loyal
York.
to him
In New York, yeah.
And so I go in, Julia calls me, and she's just like, Trav, we got you. Renee's, passing her clients. I'm going to pick you up. You're testing. You go in, blah, blah, blah. Long story. So I do the test, and it's down to the wire. And it was a big part. It was a big payday. And I didn't get it. Never heard from him again.
Oh, wow.
Never got. I'd call the office. I'd be like, hey, Julia, how are you?
It's
there?
crazy. So
no one ever called me again.
So
ever.
they dropped you.
Fucking original ghosting.
Yeah, ghost.
Yeah.
That's how it's, wow.
Yeah, so Julia, by the way, hi.
Yeah, I still talk to Julie sometimes too. But the thing is people need to understand this about the business, is that they'll drop you. I used to be with APA. Here's a great story. Is I made them probably 1 year a few $100,000, if not more. And I was friends with all the agents. We used to go out and party. We would hang out. I was tight with all the agents, all the assistants. And I got brought in there one day, and they're like, "We got to drop you." I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" The bottom line. It comes from the top. This business, it doesn't matter. They have their criteria. If you're not making them enough, or you didn't do this or that,
Show business.
Nothing is ever guaranteed anywhere with anything. As an actor here.
Show
absolutely.
business.
So that I want them to hear this, a good lesson. So you got dropped by Buchwald, and then what'd you do?
Yeah, so that was, and I remember with them just at the time being like, this just doesn't feel realistic, because I walked into a room and Nikki Whelan was sitting in the room, and it's like, who are they going to choose, her or me? her, I'm nobody. And so I understood it, but like when you're young and you've just come out here with all the like stars in your eyes, it was devastating. I was crushed. And that's when I really knew that Ruddy and I would be together forever, because that was the moment where like he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, you're not okay. Let it out. And I'm just like, no, I'm fine. But then I didn't want another agent for a while, because I just, like, Ruddy just believes in me to the way Travis does. Like, it's just unconditional, I've got you type thing. And that's why my relationship with him being so grounded and great, and I think that's so important for an actor. Find a manager that is like gonna go to bat for you, and it's hard to find, but when you find them, like, that is important. Agents are gonna come and go, and I didn't really realize that in the business before, and now I've found a fantastic agency that actually really believes in me, and I'm just like, bam, 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 I've been booking, but because they care.
But that's more sage advice. You have to, in this town, find, whether it's even one person that believes in you, and they're gonna stay with you for life.
Yeah,
they're gonna be loyal. He's been with the same manager for 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've had the same one. She stuck by me through ups and downs, through the hardest times, and you have to find those people that believe in you, because then from there you can have an agent here for a while, have this for a while, but you need those people that believe in you, because then, and that's what managers are for. They're to give you the cry on the shoulder sometimes and talk to them, because
their job's to coddle you.
Yes,
your agents
don't have time for that.
No.
That's not it.
My agents are fantastic. They're very responsive. They're very like Brianna and Scott. They're fantastic. I've never had like a duo like that are agents that seem to actually like care about you.
Yeah, and who are you with right now?
What's her name?
Clear Talent
What's her
Group.
name?
Okay, Clear
Brianna.
Talent.
Brianna and Scott at Clear Talent.
Clear Talent.
But yeah, they're just fantastic. They actually genuinely care. I've never had a female agent before. I think, you know, me being masculine and just having brothers, I've always only wanted to work with men, but having her has just been a nice breath of fresh air. But yeah, Ruddy's going to be my person through thick and thin. And like, I haven't made him any money really at all, but the point is
but you're
they
about
grow
to.
With you. And
But you're about to, and then you have him on your side. He's going to be with you for a long time, if not forever.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like that's what you start with.
Yeah. And
you guys are going to grow together. Now, right now you're working on something, or you were, 68 Whiskey. That's currently going, right?
So it was really weird. It was like, there was this, and this is something you can't fake, but I don't know whether it was the fact that I'd literally just gotten off a plane and I would just like put my head down and I didn't think I was gonna get it. I just wanted to do a really good job, that I just went in like without thinking about it actually being an audition, and something just, I don't know whether it was just 4 years of being in room that something suddenly clicked, but I just went in and it was like the nerves were gone. It wasn't an audition. It was just a chance to act. It was just, someone's hired me to come into this room and read words for 20 minutes.
You were giving advice that sometimes takes people 10 years to figure out. Seriously, like the fact that you can already say that and do that no nerves, it's no big deal, because that's how everyone should approach auditions. It's not, that's not your be all end all. That's not the end of your life. That's not the beginning of your life. It's just an audition.
Yeah.
You honestly have to go in there and not really give a shit. And if you can approach it like that, the nerves are gone, the pressure's gone, and that's when you really are at your best.
And unfortunately, that's just something that you can't teach and you can't fake.
Yeah.
You just have to be. And that just comes from tripping over, fucking up, doing good, sort of being in just time. And again, it comes down to you won't really be successful. I mean, it can happen, but you won't really be successful for like 4 years. But it's just it's just practice. You've got to get that wheel churning. And like straight after that, I booked an episode of MacGyver where like my character was the Italian like character arc of the episode. And I remember getting the script, and usually it would have completely flipped me out, because the first thing it says is like there's a scene and it's like one word and then she bursts into tears, and that used to terrify me, because it was like, what? Like, I've just come into a room, I sit down and it's like you're meant to just cry just like that, and I'm nervous and blah 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 blah
all the time.
Well, you actually taught me how to do that. I did. So Travis,
did you taught
a couple of years ago told me how to, like, we had a coaching session, and phenomenal coach, by the way. But taught me how to do that. So it was just like, again, that just, I needed to meet someone that has done it before and to learn, and it's just a comfortability thing. Again, I went into the room not expecting to book. Also,
for MacGyver.
For MacGyver. just going, okay, well, this is a great chance for me to practice Travis' technique. So I didn't think about it as an audition. It was fantastic. Today I get to practice Travis's technique. And
Copyright that. The Travis technique.
The Travis technique.
TT, I can see it right now.
love it.
Come over later.
That's where his voice he said, come over later.
Come over later.
Come over later.
But
The Travis technique.
We're going to start with you.
You just did like a body roll.
Yeah, exactly. You have to take off your pants for the Travis technique.
Just get comfortable. Yeah, just get comfortable.
Did I really
Only for the guys.
I'm not being
Only for
Me
the
Too'd
guys.
here, guys. These guys are Me Too'ing each other.
We don't Me Too the ladies. We Me Too each other.
I can't believe she saw my body roll. I was like, oh my God.
As you're staring deeply in Greg's
I'm like,
eyes.
hey, Greg. She's used to being in a room full of guys, though. I could tell. This is
Does
second
not bother
nature.
me at all.
One of the guys.
But yeah, there's just, and also you can't fake the fact that I was on a show. So, like for once I didn't need a job because I had one. I was flying back and forth to Florida, and I managed
But that's
to
something you
squeeze
should
in
tell people. You should never be needy. If you're needy in anything in life, relationships, freaking acting, you never get it. It's not attractive.
Yeah. And then the same thing happened with 68 Whiskey. It was just, and that is to touch on Travis's point of just reading a casting director, because that was a completely different audition to the right stuff. Like when I walked into 68 Whiskey, I really resonated with the character like straight away. I've been playing a lot of Italian characters, doing the Italian accent and talking in some Italian and all of that.
Well, that's a benefit that you can do that. That's
it's fantastic, and that's what I revert to now. I don't like to audition in Australian. If they say natural, I go to the Italian accent instead. But
that is so.
I know, it's good.
I love watching you talk.
Was that Wendy O'Brien?
Yeah, I walked in,
had
she's
you in
just like, "Hey," gives me this big hug, and I was just like, oh my God, I love this woman.
Well, she's the best cast director in the business as far as making you feel comfortable and feeling in the room. There's no pressure. No. She's number one. That's why I told her, I said, I want you on my show, and this is why. Yeah. Because you're the model example of making actors feel comfortable and loved when they come in. The last thing we want to do is feel all this pressure and have a cast director scowling at you or making you feel uncomfortable. But she's the opposite.
She's the exact
opposite. It's all love.
But it was her like incredible energy, even though she wasn't in the room, she's created it in her, like she was in the actual like audition room, and in the actual room, I walked in and I felt that energy straight away. And it's the first ever time that I've walked into an audition room where the actors aren't sitting there like this or like mumbling to themselves with their script. Everyone was like, "Hey, how you going?" And within,
they know.
yeah, we were all just
they all know.
We're doing push-ups and
Fuck
being
that.
stupid.
Don't look at me.
And like,
Yeah, Greg's different.
yeah.
Greg stares everybody down. What are you looking at? Don't you look at me. Look at your sides, bitch.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get nervous, motherfucker.
Are you white?
I'm about to take this role. Greg goes in there and says, I'm about to take this role.
I actually have said that several
Takes
times.
off his shirt. You see this? You can't beat this.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's how I got the role. No.
So you play Casola?
Yeah, Nurse Casola.
And what's your story on there?
It's a recurring role. It's not like huge, but she's one of the main
Recurring
characters.
is amazing.
Thank you.
You know what kind of residuals you're gonna get?
Yeah.
I've never gotten a
I
residual
still
check
pay
in my life.
You
Here
will.
they come.
I pay my mortgage off residuals.
Yeah.
I mean
For
residuals.
a Paramount show?
Anything. That's recurrings are the best.
So many amazing things have happened this year. Like I joined SAG. Apparently, I'm getting like level 1 health insurance.
Yeah.
Level 1, baby.
Apparently.
I haven't had a health insurance in 4 years. I can't do anything.
We have the best insurance
around
on
in
the
bubble
planet.
wrap.
Best insurance on the planet.
The VA.
Can't wait.
Well, the VA, yeah.
But like I was making $10 an hour for 3 years, so it was very, very bizarre. But it's the most bizarre thing is the fact that like you're getting a check for something that you would do for free.
Yes.
So it's like every time I'd get a payment, I'd be like, what's this for? Yeah. Like it's bizarre. It's amazing to go to work and
it's a wonderful
not
feeling.
work. I would have done all of it.
That's
for
why
free.
we love what we do, because there's nothing better than working, and you're so happy, and obviously the paycheck, but just working, set life is so amazing.
It's incredible.
The working is everything you do to get there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what the job is.
Yeah, for me, they were paying me to fly back and forth to Florida every week.
Yeah.
And that was difficult. I ended up really, I hadn't figured out how to, which is so important to take care of myself while traveling. So like traveling back and forth, I slept at home probably 12 days, and I'd gone from doing nothing to filming 2 shows at once, like 68 Whiskey out in Santa Clarita, and then The Right Stuff. And The Right Stuff was very last minute, so they'd be like, okay, we need you tomorrow. And so I was always just like out of a suitcase flying back and forth. I mean, you're flying first class and everything, but you're still flying 6 hours across the country, sometimes for a day, sometimes for 4 days, and back and forth. I think I must have gone like 8 times or something, and living in hotels and just sort of living off the crafty table and just like I hadn't figured it out.
Are you grateful and thankful that you're living that life?
Oh, incredibly. But I did get really sick. So like that's something that I really had to learn, that I think this was the most incredible thing about the Right Stuff for me. I mean, the whole experience was incredible, but the most incredible thing for me was getting to work with the 7 astronauts that have all been working since they were like 16. You know, you've got Patrick J. Adams, Colin O'Donoghue, Jake McDormand, like all these guys that have been working for like 10 years and just soaking in everything they were doing. And they were so willing to help and so kind and so like inviting, just learning how they prioritize themselves and like how they manage to stay healthy while doing things. And just it was just the whole show for me was a beacon of knowledge, and it was incredible. That's really what
and that's amazing. The alternative
advice.
could be waking up every day in Venice and hugging trees, but you get to travel and get work on set. I mean, that's the life. That's why we do this.
And the other advice that came through on that is, you know, if you get book a job, don't sit in your trailer and separate yourself from everyone. Like soak everybody in. Some of the best relationships I've made is by being out there. I did a project with The Rock years ago, and that guy never went to his trailer.
Name drop.
Bam. But he never went to his trailer. He was always out there. I mean, this is.
I mean, what are you gonna do in your trailer unless you need
condolences out? I think his father just passed.
His dad did just pass. Yeah. But that was he was a big movie star. It was Race to Witch Mountain. You know, and there he was out there with the director, out there with all the guys, soaking it in like she was. Mm-hmm. And I've watched so many actors get on set, keep their head down. Like, obviously, you know, you need your space, but learn from the people. Like, if you get on a CSI, like that's, you know, something like that's been around for 15 years, start talking to those people that have been doing it for a while. And like you did, you just soaked in all the. I mean, Jake is a killer. That guy just books and books and books.
Jake just works all year round. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they were just so willing to let everyone learn. Like, there was a day that I didn't have anything on, and I just asked the director, they were going to a new location. I was like, can I just come to set today? He was like, yeah, sure, just come. So I just like followed him around for like 4 hours. Great. It was great. And then I just wanted to see what was happening. That's so true. You have
to network in this business and keep relationships. Yeah. And you're so right. I used to do that early on. I would just go in my trailer and sitting there, because as an actor, I'm more like I have to be in my space. But I learned that you have to build those relationships, hang out, talk, have a conversation, and keep those, because they're going to in the future help you for the next job and the next job. If this producer or director is in charge of making a decision, they're like, oh, Jade, I fucking love Jade.
Yeah, she's easy to work with, shows up on time. And if you got the job, then you got the part, you got the role. Now, that's not to say you should dick around, but at the same time, like, if they cast you, then the job is done. And essentially 90% of the job is done. So you don't have to sit there and be so introverted in your trailer and separate yourself. Like, go out and enjoy your life.
And like this, I don't know how to say this without sounding stuck up.
Stuck up.
Sound stuck up. I'll approach it from this angle. When I was first brand new to camp, I started on camp just as one of the sort of glorified extras that had like sort of was in the background of like the main scenes kind of thing, and then I got speaking part and blah blah blah. But the thing that I remember the most was the couple of actors that were either recurrings or leads, or even Rachel. They would come, because, you know, in acting, as you all know, everything is very segregated. The extras eat here, the blah, 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 and everyone likes to keep sort of segregated. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I remember as someone new was when those characters would come sit with the extras. Mm-hmm. And I just remember just feeling like amazed and just wanted to know and how and like the ones that were willing to come and give the little people some time. And they're not little people, but so like that is sort of like a nice way to pay it forward without sounding stuck up. But like some of my favorite days was when I would get my food and just go sit amongst 68 Whiskey had a lot of extras, because there's a lot of, you know, army people on the base, and we had a lot of like, you know, I got assigned like 6 extras one day that were sort of the featured extras of the day to bring like a body towards me and stuff, and just sitting with them and hearing where they were in their stories, and they want you to tell them like how you did it so that they can feel hopeful. And that's just like someone gifted me that when I was on camp, and it allowed me to like feel really hopeful about coming to LA and seeing how people had done it, and we're shooting in Australia, but we're living in LA, and so it's just sometimes
that's so important. Like,
nice.
to like even the crew, like talk to the crew, be friendly with the crew.
Yeah.
Everyone's on equal level. Anyone who thinks that they're
100%.
better than anybody else,
No.
even extras on the same level as us, they're just doing something different. And the way set life is they do segregate. Extras over here, crews over here, actors over here. Even when the line for lunch comes, they make the actors. Actors got to get to the front of the line. I always hate that. I feel so bad. They're like,
it's awkward.
actors to the front of the line, skip over everybody else that's just as hungry and that's been working actually harder than we have.
I'm always like, sorry.
Exactly. And so, but it's great to reach out and make them feel, hey, you're not any better than them. You're equal. You're all in this together. You're making a final product. You have the same goal. And that's great. A lot of people don't do that.
It's more just
No,
like
they don't.
people that are maybe still at the beginning, they just want a hopeful story. Well, that's all I wanted. I wanted a hopeful story, and I just wanted to ask questions. So instead of sitting in, unless you really need to learn lines, or you've got like like the day on MacGyver that I had my big crying scene, I sort of stuck to myself just because I didn't want anyone to make me happy.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm miserable today. I have to be
Yeah.
miserable. And like stayed in the corner kind of thing. But unless,
That's a small window, though. That's a small window.
yeah,
that you
it's a
need to
very
hit that.
small window. And the rest of the time, just when you're on set, just go learn from everyone, because
Yeah.
there's so many things you can learn. And just watching the director that day for those 4 hours, it made me understand so much more about why it was important where I was in each shot. Because as an actor, you're just like, I'm going to do whatever my character wants to do. I'm going to walk in here and I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, and then I'm going to walk back. Like, so learning from his angle why they're being weird about you not standing at and a lot of actors, you see them on set being like, my character wants to stand here, I'm going to stand here. Whereas if you approach it from all the different angles and try and make everyone's life a little bit easier, if you stand there or instead of there, I didn't realize how important that is to like
It's a
director's
cohesive process.
20,
You can't be like, it's doing my way or the highway.
But a lot of actors are like that.
They
They're like,
are.
my process, my character,
And
he does whatever he wants.
They have a short
Usually
shelf
they
life.
have problems. Yeah, they have a short shelf life.
Like-
And then it comes back to haunt them later.
Literally in 68 Whiskey, there was a day, and I remember feeling really awful, because there was this moment where they were doing this scene where the camera guy Alex came in, and he had to go all the way around this body on the table and try and get everyone's lines on a steady cam and come back around. And the director was just getting frustrated because he was like, someone's always in the way, blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking for a brief second, oh my God, I'm a really shit actress. I'm in the way. Like, oh my God, I'm in the way. Like, I never really thought about being in the way of a camera, and I can't see him and he's behind me, and somehow I'm always in front of him. And then I was like, wait a minute. Just make everyone's life easy. You've got one line. Just fuck off.
Yeah.
So I was like, to the director, just straight away, just went, what if I just remove myself from the scene? He's like, huh? I was like, yeah, I'll say my line from over there.
I'll just
You'll get
fuck
it
off.
from voice, from off screen,
move.
and that way
Fuck
you've
a
got
spider.
That's what
more-
she said. I'll just fuck off.
Yeah.
I'll just fuck off. But a lot of people wouldn't do that because they're like, no, I need my screen time. But it's not about that. It's about the ensemble. And suddenly just removing myself from the scene and saying my one line from over there, just the whole thing flowed.
And what you removed
moved
was your
on.
ego. And the sooner you can remove your ego from this industry, the sooner that you'll
And
work more.
I love that he said that, because that's what I was going to talk about now is, are you ready? Are you ready to be like recognizable? Are you ready to be a name? Are you ready for people to recognize you everywhere? Honestly, because like you have to be grounded when that happens to be able to like, or the ego comes into play and you start to treat people bad. You start to go through life differently. Are you ready to walk around and people like know who you are and have the media talk about you? Because like I just saw them talking about you with Jesse Metcalf in the news.
Jesse.
I worked with Jesse, that's why. Him and I almost got in a fight on set.
As she goes for the whiskey.
I'll tell you this story. Speaking of which, we did. Like I saw that look. It's like wink, wink. Because everyone's speculating on the news, and then all of a sudden we saw the glint in your eyes. So anyway, Jesse and I worked together on this film, and in this one scene, I'm supposed to attack him, and like we fight. I'm this crazy guy, but he had been treating like kind of crew and cast and crew people kind of like shoddy, and I questioned him on that. Because, actors can talk to each other. We're the only ones who can talk to each other. It's like an unwritten rule. You can talk to each other a certain way, but no one else can.
Yeah.
Like, no crew guy is going to call you out or anybody else. But so I was like, dude, you got to kind of, like, treat these guys a little bit better. It's not cool, blah, blah. And he kind of got into it with me. So then we had the scene where we had to fight. And we literally get in a real fight in the freaking scene. We're like hitting each other. And like everyone's like,
That's
yeah,
like
it was
a Tropic
fucking
Thunder.
awesome. That was freaking great.
Someone ended up with a bloody nose. Thankfully, I kind of got a taste for, like, let's call it my 5 minutes of fame. I hate talking about the fact that I was on a reality show, but I was.
Yeah, you were Big Brother Australia runner-up, right?
Yeah, and, like, thank God I didn't win. I was sitting there, like, hoping and praying to not win, but I can't poo-poo the experience because it allowed me to have the media package, Maxim magazine. It got me noticed. I had paparazzi shots. I had the whole shebang, but I never wanted to be famous for no reason. I can't wait for the day that I'm a well-known Nicole Kidman of the world, or Monica Bellucci or whatever. But
so how are you
dragged
going to
into
handle it
something
now?
was...
How are you going to handle it now? I mean, because that, for example, the Jesse Metcalf thing, that's now a little taste of now everyone's starting to get in your business.
Yes.
And it's only going to get more and more and more. And how do you feel like you're going to handle that? How are you going to deal with that now? Because it's only as the more you work, because you're going to keep going up.
It was interesting because Travis and I have spoken about this over the last 4 years. I know a lot of very famous people.
Yeah.
And I've always managed to stay away, even hanging out with them. I've always managed to not get paparazzis. I've always managed to stay away because my biggest fear is, like, I've put in so much blood, sweat, and tears, and then for someone to just label me, oh, she slept away up the ladder or something, would be like the worst thing, because I've put so much dedication in this. So I've always managed to stay away from that side, and I think that side's very toxic. Not that that was toxic, it's just, it was interesting. I think it caught me off guard because it was very it was weird to suddenly just go to a bar with a friend with a bunch of people, and a group 20-person outing get turned into a shitstorm overnight. That I had no idea, because I don't Google myself. Like, I had no idea. I was like 7 or 8 hours behind of what had happened, and also nothing happened. I was in a bar with 20 people.
Well, just so Greg, I don't know if you know, just in the media right now, supposedly she was spotted with Jesse Metcalf freaking macking down on him at a bar, and then also, and the reason why this is so relevant is because then there was another girl that was involved with Jesse the same weekend, and then he's been in like a 13 relationship with this woman that's wanted, like, they're talking about marriage or something. So now they're saying he's cheating, he's going with these other girls. But I don't want to talk about the Jesse thing. It's more about
It's all right. We can edit this. We're not live.
I'm suddenly being very careful with what I'm saying.
We're not talking. I'm not investigative journalism here.
Look,
It's all about.
I'm an open book, except when it is. This is why this is weird. It's got nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
I just so happened to
so
be
that's
out
where
the
I wanted
front
to
of
ask
the bar.
you this. It's not about the Jesse thing. It's about how are you going to handle. This isn't going to be the last time.
No.
Like, the media blows things out of proportion all the time. So how do you feel that you're going to handle that in the future? Do you stay more private with your life? Do you just, like, stay more introverted?
With this, I've said nothing, because Jesse and I have been friends for 3 years. He's a client, a training mate. He's a but it's not my business, and it's nothing to do with me. If it was just me, if it was something about me that was my stuff, I'm an open book. Like, I would talk straight away the next morning to someone and be like, look, this is the way it went down, and if you want to believe this or this or this, you're always going to have some haters. But it did throw me, because it was literally going to a bar to watch a fight with like 20 people. So it was just so unexpected. And for a second, I was really like, my roommates were like, are you okay? Because I don't think I uttered more than 2 words that day. I was just media, and just like all this shitstorm just suddenly came crashing down, and the home wrecker DMs and the like all the just
all the haters
trash talk
and talk.
There was nice people, there was whatever, but I mean, you know, that was more about me trying to protect my friend and just making sure he was okay. But it was weird, because I was like, I had to call my agent and my manager and just let them know what was happening, and just, you know, they were great. They were like, you just have to get used to this. This is going to happen.
And that's what Hollywood is now. I mean, you have almost like around 100,000 followers on Instagram, right? So you're like, you're in it. You're like, everyone's seeing everything that you do all the time, whether you're posting it or the media is doing it. So that's going to be your life from here on out.
And I am more than happy for that, and I can't wait. And it's like, I can wait for the like bad headlines, but you know, if people are talking about you, then as long as you're not half naked getting out of a cab drunk off your face.
Yeah,
but like,
exactly.
you know, I feel like I'm not going to do that kind of thing. I've never done a drug in my life, and I feel like I'm pretty stable. But
Yeah.
You
I
like
actually
trees.
can't.
We've
I
already
like
established you
trees.
like trees.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be a name in this industry.
Yeah,
So,
and you will be.
but
So
that did shock me a little.
tell me something. What do you find the most attractive thing about Los Angeles culture? Just what do you think just stands out as the most attractive thing about LA culture?
LA culture. I don't know about LA.
Because LA is very specific.
Yeah, that's
to
why
the
I'm
rest of the
blanking a
world.
little. I find it very interesting when people live here and they're not in the industry. I can't help but be like, but why?
Yeah.
Because LA, for me, is a magical place because it's providing me opportunities to live out my dream. And I'm so grateful. And like, I got my green card and I got my California driver's license the other day. And there's this real sense of like pride and connection. And I didn't realize how like patriotic I'd start to feel about the States in general. And
Yeah.
like, this place is a mecca.
So that's
for
the
me.
most attractive thing is the opportunity.
It's
that
just
it
the
gives.
opportunity.
Would
It
you
is.
go back to
LA.
Australia if, let's say, things go well?
Yeah.
Would you head back there and work from there? Like I know the Hemsworth did that. I know Chris did that.
It's so bizarre because I always didn't like LA, but then with the opportunities it's provided me, I can't see myself going back anytime soon. But I've always hoped to book something in Vancouver or New York, or like my idea. Every time I get a pilot and it's like shooting somewhere cool, I'm like, yeah, that one, that one.
Yeah.
Because LA's difficult and my people aren't here. Like I've found some good people, but they're not here. So the
Yeah.
land of opportunity, I'm hoping will provide me an opportunity that isn't here. It's weird though. I don't necessarily want to go back home. It's kind of like, I can't wait for the day that I'm a multimillionaire and can buy my beautiful beach house in Byron Bay if the Hemsworths stop buying everything.
You have to buy it from them.
Yeah, right? It was my town first. Wow, that's racist, but they're my people.
It's all right. Everybody's racist.
Against the Hemsworths.
Yes.
I'm racist against attractive men. But yeah, I can't wait for that and to be able to like buy my mum a home and create like a little home there. But there's something really powerful in my mind of like going somewhere else and building like, you know, I'm shooting in Vancouver 6 months of the year, or like flying to Florida.
Absolutely.
Going home, I feel like it would put a little bit of a wet blanket over like something that I've really, I want to be successful in America.
You're really young too, and I think you get
Thanks.
that sense when you get a little bit older. You're like, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
You know,
and
I mean-
I'm sure I will eventually,
Yeah.
but for now,
now-
LA is actually home. I never
And
thought
especially
I'd say
because you're
that.
just starting to like explode, so you've got to be here for all these different things that are going to be happening.
Yeah.
And so you're right. This is the land of opportunity. There's not many cities in the world where there's basically a limitless supply of. You can create anything from nothing here. People will start businesses here for
Yeah.
anything. So that's the good thing about LA. On the flip side, what is the most unattractive thing about LA culture?
Just the fame.
When they ask you about celebrities in Google,
Yeah, when they Google you recently. Just
Who does that?
I managed to stay away from this so well.
What's your name again?
I was like, oh, I know that guy. Let's talk about him.
When you go on a podcast?
When I'm offline,
Oh,
yeah.
off the record. Did I accidentally forget to press stop on the record button?
But yeah, the most unattractive thing is just how it's just there's no other place that's like LA where you'll go up to someone and be like, hi, I'm Jade, and they'll be like, what do you do? I'm like, sorry,
oh my
your
gosh,
name
thank
is
you.
what?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
before they tell
Fucking
you,
hate
before
that.
like,
Oh my god.
that's when I go, I'm a bartender.
Yeah.
And I wait for their eyes to glaze over. And if they glaze over, then good. Go
Yeah,
away.
you know it, yeah.
I want to.
I love that. I always say my response is I just hang out. They say, "What do you do?" I just hang out.
Hang out.
They're like, that must be cool. You just, what do you?
Are you
just hang
homeless?
Out? Just freaking hang out.
You
dude.
shouldn't say that though, because then they'll be like, "Oh, he must like own Facebook."
Yeah, he must.
Exactly.
But I just tell people I'm a bartender.
I'll
Because
tell you,
if you're still willing to talk to me, then great. But if you're not, then bye.
What if you say you're an Uber driver? Are they still going to talk to you?
Hell yeah, they need a ride. I'll tell you a funny. Well, it's kind of sad, but when you asked that about the LA culture, I thought about it. I was like, well, now that I don't live here, what is it that I don't like about it? And 3 months ago, I made a post, and it was very vague, but it was like basically my health isn't well. And you checked in on me. You checked on me. It's all right. Don't worry about it. But
There's the
a
door.
few people checked in on my health, and they checked in on me. My movie dropped last week, and I had like 82 text messages. And I looked at my girlfriend and I said,
text her about the movie.
This is crazy. Like it was crickets.
Checking on your health.
Yeah,
after the movie dropped.
Yeah, like, hey man, how you feeling? You know, but it was literally.
See, I didn't do that either.
No, you didn't either. So you're off the hook. And
plus,
plus, we're just becoming friends. I've known them for years.
I've known
them for years.
I completely missed it. I'm rarely on social media.
But it was for me LA culture. It was when you're ill or you're not well or you don't have anything to offer. It's a handful of people who really do care, and it's very small.
Hard to find those people here that really truly are good. That's why him and her are so tight. Like, to have genuine good people here is very hard to find. Like you seem like that.
She is.
Like, just genuine. Like, you don't care. You have no ulterior motive. And like that thing. What do you do? Freaking can't stand that.
Yeah.
What about me? Like, I'm just me. What does it matter what I do?
Yeah.
You know. So that's true. That's my most unattractive thing about LA.
Yeah.
And traffic.
Traffic. Yeah, traffic is.
I actually don't mind the traffic anymore because now I just learn lines.
You just text.
I just learn lines.
You have your drivers now. That's why, because you have drivers.
My mom's always like, "Don't text and drive." I'm like, "I'm going 2 miles an hour."
So I want to ask you something.
Stopped.
I'm gonna read you something. See how much this describes you, and I'll tell you why. She is dramatic, creative, self-confident, dominant, and extremely difficult to resist. Able to achieve anything they want to in any area of life they commit to. There is a specific strength to her. She has the king of the jungle status.
Jesus.
How much of that describes you? Oh, did you read my notes?
No, I'm a Leo.
So does that describe you really well?
There was something at the beginning that no, but yes, lot of
the majority of it.
The majority of it, yeah. I'm just not very like. I don't know. There was a word in there where it's like, self-confident. I'm actually not very self-confident.
Yeah, so
or something.
Did it say
like
dominatrix?
No, dominant.
Of course, that's what you hear.
He only heard one word, dominant.
Two things for the next thing. Before you do this, real quick, can you answer the next in an American accent?
Yes, you wanted that.
Okay.
And what's your birthday?
My birthday?
Yeah.
It's 8th of August, 1990.
Oh, she's being American now.
Yeah.
I'm August 7th. All right, cool.
No way.
Yeah, this way.
Well,
Are you
there
a
you
Leo?
go. Yes, he is. He's a Leo.
I know the cusp.
Leo
Leo.
is-
Yeah. I'm right in the middle.
Yeah, it's
So
Leo Virgo.
Leo is
Right
the
in the middle.
only star sign whose best match is actually themselves.
You hear her
is a
American
Leo.
accent.
Oh wow!
I hear it.
Hey,
She's dropping it like Don Lemon and CNN.
exactly. Well, how about this one? You are warm-hearted, enthusiastic, and positive, but sometimes overly frank with others.
Overly frank. See, this is where sometimes the Leo thing doesn't
But this
resonate
isn't
with
Leo.
Mel. This isn't Leo?
No, it's
Okay.
something else.
Is this the year of the horse?
Gosh damn it! You're all over
Okay.
me.
Oh, man.
Forget this interview over.
So
Stop
year of
it.
the horse. That's true, and there's a lot of people in my year that is like that. That is one thing. I've always been someone that keeps their mouth shut more than any other Leo would, just
Yeah.
because my number one thing is always, I think my two qualities is protective and loyal. Like, they're my number two things. So I'm extremely protective of people. So the last thing I want to do is be frank with someone when they're either not ready to hear it, or so it comes to, like, the way I talk to people is always protective. And if
Yeah.
I get hurt in the process, that's fine. But I'm very mother of my people. And that's why, like,
You more coddle them.
some like
sugarcoat.
yeah, I find ways to approach people, and like, I never have arguments, like, ever, because they're pointless. If I will try and find a point of view that will resonate with, or, if someone's struggling, I'm not going to be like, well, you're doing this wrong.
Yeah.
Find, like, it's so
kick 'em while
important to
they're down.
read how they're going to respond to something. Just being aggressive or being frank is not helpful to, like,
Okay.
90% of people. A lot of people don't respond well to that.
Yes, they
Yeah,
don't.
she also, has a craft of being a personal trainer, and that's just more than just yelling at people.
That's
working out.
motivation.
That's really reading people, knowing what they need to work on, understanding them. Like,
That's
That's
very
very
true.
yeah, it's
'Cause
very. It's
some
such
people
a great,
want you to be like, get down and give me 20, but most people
They just want-
have other ways of.
Okay,
They
so
want-
someone tells you, I just can't do that. I can't do it. Do you say yes you can and encourage them to do
It
it, or you say
honestly
you know what
depends.
that's fine?
Are you a Mexican
Or a
Mexican?
Or neither. Or neither.
I'm gonna go back to my accent now, but
Or that's your real voice. What do you
now
mean
I'm back
your
to
accent?
me.
No, but the thing is I used to be a personal trainer, and more of it is just motivating. Come on, you're doing good. Good job. That's the way, like, pushing them by making them feel good. They push harder instead of very few of them love tough love. Very
Yeah.
few are like, get the fuck down there, do 20 more, do 5 more. Some people respond to that.
Yeah.
I respond to
A lot
that.
of people
but
don't.
athletes more respond to that. But more
I
people-
respond to that more as
Yeah.
well, and often trainers respond
I
to
want
that
to get my
more,
ass
but-
kicked. I want you to freaking push me, but most
Yeah.
people don't like that.
Like
Yeah.
the dominatrix.
Yeah, the domination. So
He
you're
likes a
you're,
good choking, just...
so you're kind of a horse.
Who doesn't like joking? Come on.
So I'm gonna throw out a few last things that you
Jeffrey
like,
Epstein.
freaking machine gun. Oh my
Tell
god!
them
Wait.
your
Yeah.
script that you wrote, because she's also a writer, and I think it's important. Because she handed me a script, and she's like, if you ever want to produce this, it's a $200 million. I'm like, my film just made $1 million at the box office. Like, let me see.
Make another one of those, and then you can
When
finance
I'm
this
like
one.
as big as The Rock, then we'll make it.
But do please pitch that, because I think
Oh,
I
I'm
think
so
you've
bad at
got like a
pitching.
Harry Potter type of hit. on
I've
your
just
hands.
created like a world that sort of stems from when I was young. I always felt like I came from two different worlds, and I was the only one that would cross between the two worlds. So I wrote a story about a character, Azura, and it was there's a land of ice and a land of heat, and the darkness befalls
awesome.
the lands, and the king and queen fall in love, and they have a baby. And when they manage to banish the darkness, the two lands become divided again. And the prodigy of these two. Her name's Azura, and Azura is the only person that can cross between the two lands. And they think they've banished the darkness, but the darkness starts to appear and cross from the cold land into the hot land. And so, like, it's the story of that and how it's happening. But it's also sort of a Twilighty love story, because there's the guy that you want her to be with and the
Romeo
guy
and
that
Juliet.
isn't. And then you find out that guy is actually the bad guy.
And you
he's
created all
infecting
this
All
from
this.
scrap from you. You
Just-
created every
yeah.
the land. Oh
So
my gosh,
there's-
that's brilliant.
What's the name of
fairies
it?
and Tale of a Story.
Fairies. So I love that you created this from scratch. That shows that you also have an amazing imagination and truly are an artist to be able to create something like that.
It just
on
came
your own.
from being extremely depressed in LA and having nothing to do. So I was like, what did J.K. Rowling do? I know.
Yeah.
So I'd go to a friggin'
Yeah.
Starbucks and just write.
Right on a napkin.
Yep, just write.
So then, what's the best film you've seen in recent months?
1917. I'm a I think because I wanted to join the military, but I love military films. I just go nuts for them. But I've never seen anything like it with the whole, like, one shot. And to be honest, the first 10 minutes, I started to get nauseous. Like, I don't do rides and stuff. So, like, the constant, like, moving and sometimes the way the actors moved, I was like, that looked really weird, because you
Yeah.
could tell they were like, okay, now we need to get this, just so that they'd walk around. But within 10 minutes, I sort of acclimatized to it, and then I just fell in love
I haven't
with it.
heard one person say a bad thing about
No,
1917.
it's brilliant,
It's like,
but
got it.
just me personally started to get a bit nauseous. But that was just, I think, acclimatizing to something so...
So then this is your year 4, and this is now you're busting out. You had your 3-year start, and this is year 4. What is one statement that would describe your past year? One statement that just describes it for everybody.
One statement. I don't know. The only word that's coming to mind is miraculous.
That's it, right there. That's perfect. And then also, I always believe that you learn. I don't know if you ever go to the grocery store and like you're waiting in line, you look in somebody's shopping cart or their little basket. You can learn a lot about somebody by the food they get. So what are the 3 things we would find in your grocery cart?
Oh, it's always the same. It's zucchini, some sort of mince, which Americans hate it when I say mince. You guys call it ground turkey or ground beef, but I call it
mincemeat.
mincemeat.
It
Yeah,
comes from
yeah.
mincemeat.
My
I
roommate goes insane
When you
whenever I
said
say
mince,
mince.
I thought you meant breath mince.
yeah.
Oh no,
That's
like
in
a
there.
ground, some sort of ground
Beef.
Ground beef.
animal,
Uh-huh.
and eggs. I am a during pilot season.
So protein and
this
zucchini.
is my first
Protein
drink
and
this
zucchini.
year, but I don't actually.
Oh my gosh, how
usually
blessed
drink.
are we that you have your thank you.
I very rarely
2020.
drink.
That's awesome.
And just
So
eat
mince, zucchini, and
And
eggs.
eggs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's some protein.
And Jojo Rabbit, 1917.
1917.
And Last Full Measure, was that?
and last one measure.
And last full measure. What are the top 3 bands for you of all time?
Bands.
Yeah, any music bands, whatever. It could
I'm
be
really
DJs.
weird because I love like such a weird variety, but I'm a massive country music fan. Like,
Oh, nice.
I maybe they're not bands as such, but like I love Chris Stapleton, Brooks and Dunn,
Oh, nice.
Morgan Evans, like all those
Is
guys.
country big in Australia or no?
Yeah,
Oh, it
country's kind
is.
of big in Australia. Keith
Oh,
Urban. But then I love Troye Sivan, James Bay, Matt Corby, Jack Johnson, that kind of stuff. But then I'll also, Eminem's new album just dropped and it's fucking amazing.
She
It's
goes
amazing.
like this with her hands, Eminem. So then what's one song that describes you and your journey in life? Like one song that's like your anthem that you could just think of. That's just what.
I don't know why I did that cheeky smile. It's like,
You did the same
I don't know
smile
why
when
I
I
did that.
when I named Jesse Metcalf.
Um,
It's the mischievous like. You have a mischievous
I don't
smile.
know.
You.
I used when I was a kid, I used to listen to Fighter by Christina Aguilera all the time, but that was kind of a weird sidestep.
Would that like pump you up and like give you motivation?
Yeah, but see, at the gym, I listen to death metal, so I'm a really weird mix
Death
of
metal.
human. I used to like death metal. I like even System of a Down, all those kinds of things.
Fuck yeah, System of a Down. Well, that's another question I was asked people, because whenever I'm like hiking or working out, I always wonder, what does someone listen to get like their music to work out in? What is, so you love death metal, but what is one song that would describe your journey in life? Your just anything.
I'm blanking.
Eminem. Brooks and Dunn.
Mockingbird. I don't know. I can't think right now. I've gone completely
so
blank.
then I'll do you one last one. What is a book or play that you will carry with you the rest of your life that just you're always could reference, or it's going to have an everlasting like impact on you? Of any book or play that could just be in your back pocket all the time, they're just going to carry with you forever, that just is profound to you.
It's stupid, but for some reason it's a cartoon. Meet the Robinsons. It's like this. It's about this young kid who's an orphan and who is an inventor, and everything he does just blows up and it's just crap. And then one day he invents something, and then someone from the future comes to tell him that his invention was good, and he doesn't believe it, and he finds his parents and he finds his way. And I don't know why, but every time I watch it, it just makes me cry, and it's just beautiful. I think I've always felt like even though I've got beautiful, loving parents, being so far away, I've always felt like a little bit of my own entity that sort of, it's kind of why I got the 9 3/4 tattoo, but it's like I've always felt like I've always gone against the traffic, against the grain.
Yeah.
I've always been a bit of a black sheep. I never do what anyone else does, and I feel like that resonated with me so much for some reason. It's just a cartoon, but just
no, but it doesn't
a journey
matter.
of finding
Exactly.
yourself.
It could be, some of the cartoons are the best because it's all about the story. It's not about the genre. It's about the story and how it affects you. So what does the 9 3/4 mean? I didn't know you had that. That you're just not quite a 10. Almost a 10.
No, so
I thought you were a 12.
It's a Harry Potter.
I know. It's Kurt. He said it to me the first time I met him.
So I'm not special.
He was an 11.
And then he went.
And then I did the freaking shimmy.
Show us again. Show the camera. There you go.
You can see it. But so it's a Harry Potter reference. Again, it's going back to my fantasy nerd roots. I'm really dyslexic. I couldn't really read until I was like 11. And the first book I read was Harry Potter that I managed to read on my own. But it's kind of like a metaphor that I've like invented, but it's, platform 9 3/4, there's platform 9, there's platform 10, and 95% of the population spend their 9 to 5s. They go to platform 9, platform 10, headphones in, going to work, coming back, living there, and it's not mediocre at all. It's just like, for me, that would just be like disastrous to live that life. Whereas when I moved to LA, it's like, so platform 9 3/4 is a brick wall in between the two platforms. And if you know that it's there, and you know that on the other side is the train that leads to Hogwarts. So for me, it was a metaphor of like my acting career and just my life thus far. It's been like running head first at a brick wall, because as many times as I've like been knocked unconscious or broken my nose from running at a brick wall, I know that on the other side is magical acting land. There's the train that's going to take me to where I want to be.
So
in
is
life.
it safe to say that the genre, if you had one genre to pick in life to work on, if you could work on something the rest of your life, it'd be fantasy. Medieval.
100%.
Me too. Absolutely.
100%.
That's it.
That would be. I just auditioned.
Porn.
Fantasy porn.
Fantasy porn.
That's not been
He's
done.
going to dress as an elf.
I'm going to dress as an elf and have sex with a dwarf.
No. Is that a proper term?
I don't
Dwarf.
know. Well, no,
Cut that bit
dwarves.
out.
In medieval land, there's dwarves.
There's dwarves, okay.
There's dwarves, yeah. So then I just want to end on, speaking of the dyslexia, what is your advice to anybody that, deals with their own little obstacles they have to do in life, whether it's dyslexia or any other personal issues? like you had to overcome that to be an actor of all things. Your word, it's all about words. It's all about words, reading, and you're a writer, you're an actor. What do you advise to people as far as, not getting down on themselves and how to overcome their own personal obstacles? School
was definitely hard just because you're measured in one capacity. It's like read this, learn it, be smart. Like, it's very sort of black and white, and I am various shades of gray. So it was hard to be in a society that was like measuring your smartness. I always say like I'm dumb, and it just comes from school, because it's like I was dumb in school. If you're gonna, so it's just I would just say find what makes you not dumb. Like yes, I can't spell well and blah blah blah, but I still wrote a movie because my imagination's there. The writing's not perfect, but that's what computers are for. And if I need to write an email, I have voice to text, and just find what makes, whatever is your unique thing, just lean into that. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
Society said I had to go to college and I had to do this and I had to do that. I've never been to college, and I'm a fairly successful human now, so find whatever it is that makes you special. And I'm dyslexic. I've got an auditory processing problem. I also speak 2 languages and can memorize 25 pages like that. So
exactly.
You speak 3.
3. I do speak 3.
Do you speak Mexican too? When people speak Mexican
or Mexican.
So that's good. Well,
second time, Travis.
He loves saying that joke.
Yeah, but
American or American.
Just find your own way, find your own path, whatever it is, because we're all completely.
Yeah, don't listen to society and the stigmas that they tell you. No. Find your own niche, find what works for you, and that's what it is.
Don't Google your name.
So, Jade Albany, what's your name again?
Pietrantonio.
Oh my God! Why do I get chills? Literally, I feel chills go down my back every time you say that.
Pietrantonio.
We don't speak. We don't roll our R's as much in Spanish
not like
as
that.
No.
Kurt's gonna be in Italy next month.
Pietrantonio.
That's pretty good.
Pietrantonio.
Yeah, I like that.
So, Jade.
What's all of her Instagrams, and don't we do that?
Thanks for they can find her. She's got 100,000. Just freaking type in Jade, and she's the first one that comes up.
That porn star,
and the porn star, and the stripper,
or Jesse Metcalf,
and the green stone. And we will end it on that. Greg Serrano. That was Greg Serrano. We got Travis Aaron Wade. I'm Kurt Caceres, your host. Jade, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It was freaking awesome.
That was fun.
And we'll talk later. Good night, everybody. Jason Charles Miller on the music out of here. Bye.
Bye.